You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. It is the Friday Night Lights, the Fantasy Football Friday Night Lights, the Bet Set Snap, and yes, I don't have quite the juice on this one tonight, as my Sooners just went down and national championship hopes went with it. But anyway. We're here. It's Friday. We'll find a little bit more juice and a little bit more gumption and oomph as I get going into this, right? And good news is Kevin seems very much alive in this one. You know, getting to take this week off in the playoffs and getting ready for whoever they get a place here towards the beginning of the year. So anyway, that's how my night started off. How about you? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I was watching the game, not necessarily side by side with you, but we were both watching the game, right? And so we were going through that, and definitely a game of momentum. And Oklahoma had it early, and Alabama right before half kind of stole that back, and they did a better job of holding on to it. And it sucks, right? Oklahoma had a great year, so. Didn't end the way you wanted to, but the program is officially turned around, right? BV has done a really good job there. He's recruiting well. That defense obviously believes in that scheme, and Dabo Swinney is lamenting letting him walk out the door because Clemson hasn't been the same since he left.
No.
But y'all be back. Y'all be back.
I lamented the fact that they let him go in the because he was the defensive coordinator under Bob Stoops for many years, and then left to go to Clemson, right? And it would have the what ifs, right? The what ifs. What if we had seen a Brett Venables defense back when we had Baker and Kyler and Jalen Hurts? Like, holy smokes, those would have been. That would have been move over and potentially in the argument for greatest teams ever, right? But one of those what if type of scenarios that sometimes you think about.
Yeah, no,
well, maybe not everybody else, but sometimes I think about that.
I don't blame you. So, shift gears a little bit on you. One thing to make you a little bit happier is I know you are the proud owner of Puka Nakua in the home league.
Oh yes,
and Puka went completely nuclear Thursday nights, losing effort. That was a crazy game too.
Yeah.
Much higher scoring than what I thought it was going to be. Lots of back and forth, lots of yards. Crazy, kind of crazy how that 2-point conversion came about and everything else. Like, just definitely some weird things. I know McVay was trying to articulate that and just scratching his head, and he's right. Like, never seen anything like it. Absolutely. But the replay was pretty clear. Like, it was a backwards pass and it just bounced the wrong way. But what I don't understand is why you're allowed to advance it forward.
Right. And
why the 2-point play rules don't follow the under 2-minute rules. Like, you can't forward advance a fumble. So it should have been dead right there.
Well, and you can so it's weird, right? Because the NFL does have some of those exceptions, right? There's the exception that you can generally recover it and advance a fumble, but you can't do it in the last 2 minutes of each half, or on fourth down, or on a try, such as a 2-point type of conversion. Only the original fumbling player can advance the ball in those situations, right? Like, as far as when I was looking at some of those rules, like, that's a 2-point try, and I don't understand how, right? Like, Sam Darnold was not the one to recover that in the end zone.
Unless they say it was on Charbonnet.
Maybe.
And that's the weird thing, right? Because Charbonnet was the intended receiver. They were swinging out to the back. and then he is the one who picked it up.
Okay.
So and so maybe it does fall into that because it was the same player who, I guess the fumble goes against him because he didn't complete the catch. I'm not sure how some of that looks, right? Definitely a learning experience and something for us to kind of dig into. But with you saying that, that's the only thing that kind of crosses my mind is I know Charbonnet is the one who recovered the ball in the end zone.
Right. But if he didn't, 'cause I didn't think that the ball touched him. I thought it was, I thought it got deflected off of the Rams guy and kind of went through that one. But anyway,
But that definitely weird, right? Like,
right.
so, and then the Rams go down to overtime, they score, and Seattle answers, gets the 2-point conversion. Like, it was for two defenses who had been playing really well, the offenses shined through, and turned into a really good Thursday night football game. A lot of people were talking about could be the game of the year, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't necessarily argue with that, right? A 1-point overtime victory that was back and forth through the entire game with lots of, heroics and big plays and everything else. Like I can't think of a game that was better from start to finish. Like, and I'm thinking all the way back to even that Buffalo Baltimore game. That was not necessarily a great football game. That was
No.
Baltimore dominating the first 2.5 quarters, and then Buffalo waking up and said, "Not today, Satan." And then Buffalo dominated the last quarter and a half to 2 quarters. Like, it wasn't necessarily a good football game. This one was actually back and forth, right?
Right.
Seattle took the lead, then Rams did, Seattle did, back and forth, blah, blah, blah. But what it resulted in was Matthew Stafford. If you played him, you feel really good about the points you got out of Matthew Stafford. You
Right.
feel really good what you got out of Puka Nacua. Hopefully you didn't start Colby Parkinson because the Rams threw to every other tight end except him.
You're not kidding.
JSN got the touchdown. So JSN got you there, right? It wasn't as explosive as Nacua, but JSN didn't really let you down. Ken Walker, if you were in a position where you kind of had to start Ken Walker, you were happy with it, right? 100 yards on the
Right.
ground, a couple receiving yards, got the touchdown, like, and the long touchdown to boot. So if you get bonus points, you got that. Charbonnet got into the end zone. I mean, so the players that you needed to play well, or at least give you fantasy points, I think they all got there in one way, shape, or form. Some exceeded expectations by quite a bit. But I don't know that any of the mainstream fantasy assets you if you played them in that game, you were left disappointed by the outcome. So, we'll see what kind of momentum that gets people heading into this weekend. Because I believe we have 2 Saturday games.
Yeah, we do, which is unfortunate that they've decided to do that, especially with some of the playoff games going on tomorrow as well.
Well, I can tell you what I'm going to be watching, and it's probably not going to be the NFL.
Right.
Like, right, wrong, or indifferent, these playoff games are just too good to match, too good to miss. Now, what I'm not going to watch, I am not going to watch Oregon play JMU. I'm not going to watch that game. Like, so I think it's on I think that one's on like TNT or True TV. Even like that one's on something weird. I'm like,
I think
okay,
one of them's on like HBO, and I'm like,
yeah.
like,
so they're on some weird channels.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely I'll be watching. I'll be watching the Ole Miss Tulane game just a little bit, right? I want to see what version of Ole Miss kind of comes out of that, and being a Georgia fan, I have a vested interest in that game. And then Miami and A&M, you would hope that's going to be the best game on the Saturday slate. You would hope. So those two games I'm much more interested in than Oregon and JMU. We'll see how things kind of shake out. But
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Tulane can keep it closer than 35. Yeah, the last time these two teams squared off against each other this season, right? Like Tulane got the brakes just beat off of them in Oxford earlier this year, and quite frankly, I don't know. Well, it may change, right? Like this Ole Miss team very different personnel calling leading the charge into the way on this one, right? With your head coach kind of bolting towards LSU and the Bayou here. So it'll be interesting to see how that thing plays out and just how, what this Ole Miss team really brings to the table.
Yeah. See if there's fast pace, see if there's aggressive as fourth down, that type of thing. But defensively, nothing's really changing for them. Is it going to be closer than 35? I think it's going to be closer than 35, but I can't guarantee it's going to be any closer than like 20 or 24.
Right.
I mean, at that point, it's still a butt whoop. It's a playoff game. Like, you're supposed to be one of the 12 best teams. And if you're going to go out there and do that, like, it's JMU and Tulane better show something. Otherwise, a lot of people pounding the table are going to look very correct in the assessment of this is stupid. And we should have just had Notre Dame and whoever else, Texas, Vanderbilt, name your other team. But
BYU would
BYU,
say they're there.
Yeah. Like, all those people who are frustrated are going to look correct. We'll see how it goes.
Right.
But yeah, got a good slate of games for the NFL coming up, though.
Yeah.
Some pretty good matchups that should lead towards fantasy success for some big name players. So I am excited about that for the leagues that I'm still fighting for something. Home league, not so much, but I'm kind of over that one. This year just wasn't meant to be for me, and I'm willing to take that.
It's okay. You can root for me.
Win them every year. Yep, I'll root for you.
There we go.
I'll root for you. Why not? Keep it in the show, right?
There
like, as crazy as it is, like, truth be told, there's nothing much more that pains me than Alex winning that thing last year. But
oh no, he didn't win it last
2 years ago. Yeah, Kelly won it last year. Then Alex went. Yeah, then so just keep it in the show. It makes it easier. So, but yeah, so not too bad. But I'm looking forward to this weekend and see how we can help, drive people forward, get them into the finals, get them one step closer to cash and trophies here, right? That's the whole premise around this.
Right. So time to make things happen, right? It's win or go home, survive in advance, however you want to look at that. But it is definitely that time of the year. Any news, notes, anything we want to hit up here before we start diving into the chat?
Garrett Wilson shut down for the season. JD5 shut down for the season. Drake London is expected to play.
Likely back. All right.
So that's a good thing. Josh Jacobs is questionable, but some reports came out that he is more doubtful than questionable this week. Well. So Emmanuel Wilson, possibly, right? If you're looking for a running back who might be sitting on the waiver wire and you need some running back help, if he can't go, we've seen Wilson put up a good game already without Jacobs there. The Packers don't really change their offensive philosophy from one back to the other, so Wilson does get a good bit of run.
Rashee Rice is out.
He's still in concussion protocol. CeeDee Lamb had a bit of an illness. He's back at practice, though. He's going to be full. He'll go. And then DeAndre Swift dealing with a groin issue. Right. I didn't see if he practiced today. I know he's still questionable, but I did not see the practice report. So I'm not sure if Swift went today or not.
Luther Burden and Roma Dunze both out for Chicago this week.
Yes. Yep. That's right. That came out yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah. Wednesday, one or the other. That one came out kind of early. But yeah, both those guys will be out. So the Bears are going to have kind of an uphill climb here against Green Bay. Missing 2, possibly 3 of their weapons. Granted, Green Bay's down Parsons, but kind of limping into that game. Chicago is.
True. Do we mention T. Higgins already?
No, we did not mention T. Higgins.
Questionable with the concussion still. So it doesn't look like he's fully cleared protocol at this point. And it'll be interesting to see, right, if they even try and push to bring him back with 3 games left that, he with him already eliminated, the only thing that I could see him potentially coming back on is if he's got some of those incentives types of deals in the contract to come back and try and push
He was
for.
franchised though, so I don't think he is. I think he just gets the guaranteed deal.
And that
I'm
could
not
be.
sure how those. Yeah, because there was no formal contract, right? Other than just the franchise tag, so you get the average base salary of the top 5 in that position or whatever it is. So
So I thought he'd signed I thought he signed like a 4-year deal.
I could be mistaken, but I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it looks like he did sign a 4-year deal with
Okay.
the so he's under contract through 2028. It looks like.
Okay. Well, good for him then, because I completely missed that. I guess I was watching this whole season under the guise of him being on a franchise tag. I'm slacking.
Yeah, so it'll be one of those two. I'll have to start. This is the time of year too to start looking into the what these contract incentives are and start looking at that, especially as you start. That's a fun deal to really start putting that into play when you start looking at like a DFS plays or when you're setting your lineups here for week
Prop
16 and
bets.
17. Props bets, absolutely.
Prop bets.
Uh-huh.
Lots of good prop bets, right? Receiving totals and that type of thing. Like it just you can definitely edge yourself towards a higher likelihood of winning when you realize what these players are fighting for here the last couple weeks.
Absolutely. Let's see who else. The looks like Mason Taylor is out, right? Not really much in the way of fantasy relevance there lately. Trying to see if we've kind of missed anybody else.
Christian Watson's going to go for
Oh,
Green
yep.
Bay. We're going to see how that sort of looks. So they're saying it's a chest thing now. Like it didn't look like a chest thing against the Broncos when he got hurt, but they're saying it's a chest thing.
Right.
Like maybe it's kind of the hockey terminology of where the injury is.
Upper
Yeah,
body,
I guess
lower body.
technically your clavicle is on, connected to your chest, but I thought for sure he broke his collarbone when he landed.
Yeah. I mean, that very well could be like an AC joint type of thing or something like that. But yeah, I saw that as well, that it looked like a chest, that they were talking about a chest. David Njoku's out. So Harold Fannin to the moon.
Yes, sir.
Dylan Sampson out. So Judkins is the only show in town now.
Yeah, now you just need the offensive line to be able to block.
Yeah, that is helpful for running backs for sure. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything else out there that's fantasy. There's a lot of them that there's a lot of offensive line type of injuries going on that can certainly impact the game and some of that. But
I
player,
don't know that I don't know that we knew this news on Tuesday. It's well circulated now though, but Quinn Ewers is going to be the starting quarterback for the Dolphins. I think
correct,
on Tuesday we had a lot of questions about Darren Waller, and we were kind of saying, well, if Tua does go, then or if he doesn't, it's Quinn Ewers, which is crazy because you paid Zach Wilson $6 million to come in, and now he's not even going to be your starter. You're going to Quinn Ewers, so
right,
maybe you're seeing what you have in the other young guy. I mean, Ewers and Zach Wilson are basically the same age,
right,
so we'll see kind of how that goes for Miami. But it's not like Tua's going anywhere. They owe him $54 million a year.
right,
Like, they paid Tua an insane amount of money. Like, these mediocre teams need to learn how to let their mediocre quarterbacks walk
right.
instead
But
of just paying because they get stuck in this situation
Mhm.
almost every single time. Like, I think I think Trevor Lawrence right now is the exception because the Jags are trending towards winning the division, getting into the playoffs. But outside of that, when's the last time a team signed a mediocre quarterback to big money long term deal, and then all of a sudden the light bulb went on and he goes, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm going to be an All Pro."
right, yeah,
So
yeah. I can't think
we'll,
of a great example on that one. So,
I can't either. It's like, like,
which that's probably the answer in itself.
yeah. I mean, I'd say I don't even know what I'd say. Like Philip Rivers, Eli Manning, like maybe like they were they weren't good fantasy quarterbacks necessarily, right? But they were good football quarterbacks. Like they had good football minds.
Yeah,
But
Philip Rivers led some really explosive offenses there,
yeah, because he had the LT offense.
right? And Antonio Gates was just a
Mhm.
monster for years.
Yeah, Vince Jackson,
Keenan Allen was a monster for years.
Keenan.
Yep. Um,
So
so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that to it, but you're right. Like this is one of those that Jared Goff might be kind of that exception, right? He goes through, signs that big deal after they make it to the Super Bowl, then they have whatever the falling out was in LA, and they ship him off and even ship out all these draft picks to try and just get the Lions to take it, and he has the resurgence. But
yeah, and he has had a resurgence. I mean, the Lions have zero hardware for it.
right.
Like they're better, they're entertaining, they're competitive. They should, right? Last year we thought they were going to be the team to beat, and they just dumped on themselves against Washington
Right.
after coming so close to the Niners 2 years prior,
Mm-hmm.
or the year prior to that, right? When they had the big lead and blew it in the second half. Like it just, yeah, maybe Goff might be it, right? I mean,
And that's a poor example.
he's an average quarterback, but he's on the upper end of average, right? Like he's not. I don't think anyone believes that Tua is a top 15 quarterback. The
No,
Dolphins want to, but he's not, right? Like it just, I don't know. Anyway, I digress.
yeah.
So
No, I can't think of one in another scenario. But and at that point, right, if you're thinking that if you're the Dolphins and you're thinking that Tua is now not your guy, well, Zach Wilson may not be your guy either. At this point, throw out the guy you drafted in the 7th round and see what you really got, and see if you can find a Brock Purdy type of thing.
yeah,
I think is really what that one of those. I think that's really more so what you're looking at is just what do we have on this roster to look towards the future and try and build off of this thing going into next year.
yeah. See how much different he looks in year 2 than he did as a rookie when they threw him out there.
Right. Well, Quinn Ewers was what?
Or no, this is his rookie year. He was in
This
Texas last year. Yeah,
yeah, seventh round pick. So, like, we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's interesting, right? Like we talk all the time that oftentimes if the starting running back goes down, it's the third stringer that jumps up to become the starter. Apparently, the Dolphins viewed the same thing with their quarterback room.
yeah.
So
I guess hot seat central. I don't think that coaching staff's gonna be around.
yeah.
So I would not be shocked if Miami was getting turned over on Black Monday.
Yeah, I mean, and they put up a good, a solid kind of run there in the middle, but yeah, then it kind of all fell apart again this last week. So we'll see what this looks like moving forward. Any other news, notes, anything else that you want to hit up here before we start diving in the chat?
No, I'm ready to get into it.
All right, take us there, my friend.
Right on. All right, so Jason hit us up, right? And so he's saying since Puka got him 46, he's looking for some safe starts. He's got to start 5, and it needs to be 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, and 2 flex. What he's looking at is Rico Dowdle, the combination of Hampton or Vidal, Tony Pollard, Manungai. He's saying if Swift misses, and then Estime, Tet McMillan, and Wandell Robinson and Khalil Shakir. So 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, and 2 flex out of this group of players here. D, you got any thoughts or opinions?
Tet's your smash wide receiver.
I would agree with that.
So wide receiver set with Tet. I want Hampton in there. If Swift does miss with that groin injury, I want Magungai. So there's my 2 running backs if Swift mixes. And other than that, I see kind of a lot of just kind of puddling up here. So if you've got some thoughts on the rest of it, all ears.
I think I'd take a stab at Rico in my flex. Right, this is a big game. This does determine basically, I shouldn't say does, but this has massive implications for the NFC South. Um, so I think I could run out there, right, and have Rico to go along with Hampton and Monangai. Um, Estimate, I don't want any part of what's going on here now
Hard
with
pass.
New Orleans. I am
Yeah,
not
hard pass.
wasting, I shouldn't say waste. I am not chancing my playoff run on a New Orleans Saints running back who could or couldn't be splitting carries with another running back who, is supposed to be a pass catching specialist, but Estimate does a pretty good job of receiving also. Like it's it's a little sketch for me. So I think what I do at that point is I think I'd be leaning Wandell Robinson just
I
because I
would
think
too.
Jackson Dart finds a way to get him there. So I think Wandell Robinson would be my second flex spot at that moment.
Yeah, I think Wandale's a pretty safe kind of wide receiver, back end wide receiver too this week, right? Like not gonna go out there and get you flashy, but I also don't think he's gonna go out there and goose egg again. I think you're pretty safe on that one. So I like that call with the Rico Hampton running Ted out there, running Wandale, and what was the other flex that you liked?
Uh, Rick, uh, Rico and Wandell would be the flexes.
Okay, and then running Hampton and Magunga if Swift misses.
Yeah.
Okay,
So if Swift does play, I guess we can touch this, right? If
right.
Swift does play, I I think that would mean Rico and Hampton would become my running backs, and then I would probably go Wandell and Shakir.
I think I would lean in Pollard
Um,
at that point.
the only reason I would lean Shakir is because of if it's a PPR league, you'll get those points.
Okay,
Pollard's been on a bit of a heater, but the likelihood of, Shakir can come down with 5 for 60. And it's not a great stat line, but it's an easy way to 11 points. Tony Pollard doesn't catch a whole lot of passes, right? These 100-yard games have boosted him up, and him getting into the end zone has definitely helped. But if the Chiefs are mad and they decide not to roll over, I don't know that Tony Pollard is the safest bet to get to 11 or 12 points. I think Shakir has an easier path.
okay. All right, no, I like that thought. So I'll co-sign on that one there.
Right on. All right, Jason's got another one. He's got to start one. Um, Jalen Warren, Darren Waller, Colston Loveland, or Dalton Schultz.
Schultz.
I'm
I mean, I don't mind the Loveland, but
that's where I'm leaning is Loveland.
okay. Is it because both Burden and
Yep.
Adunze are out?
Dunze. Yep.
Okay.
Burden and Adunze are out. It's DJ Moore and Colston Loveland. Cole Kmet, I understand the thought process around that, but Kmet, he's going to be your inline guy. Like he'll see a couple targets for sure, but I think Loveland will be the true second option here for the Bears. So wouldn't surprise me to see him end up with 7 or 8 targets. If he can get in the end zone, that's even better. But I'm staying away from Jalen Warren. Gainwell's been taking more and more of that backfield. I don't want any part of Miami unless it's Devon Achane. So for me, it's Loveland here. Schultz is intriguing. I think I would have him number 2 right behind Loveland, but I think Loveland's going to outscore him this week.
Okay. I mean, I could see it. I think I've got Schultz and Loveland incredibly close together, and at that point, right, yeah, I know Jason's not necessarily a big fan of starting multiple guys on the same team there, and looks like he's already starting Rico or Nico on that one. So sure, I'll go with the Loveland side of it as well. But I do think I've got those two, both Schultz and Loveland, kind of back to back, and probably within about a half a point to a point to each other. Kind of statting and projecting that out. So
Hold on. All right. All right, Jason. All right. This is saying start one. Burrow. He has Chase. Okay. Or Brissett, Goff, Shook, Mariota, Love, Rogers. Holy moly. Another league, it's the same. Start one. Same options before, but Bo Nix, Caleb, and Trevor in this one. So, as crazy as it sounds, Jacoby Brissett is your safest floor.
Yeah,
Jacoby Brissett throwing it 40 times a game is extremely safe. Now, I think Joe Burrow could absolutely outscore him. Going up against a Miami team who just got eliminated. Again, we're not quite sure what version of Miami we're going to get, but I think Burrow might have the highest ceiling. Brissett definitely has the highest floor, and he's shown that. So I'd probably lean Burrow. Just he's your biggest stud. But Brissett would be my pivot if you don't like, or if you don't want to stack Burrow and Chase together.
Right. I like that. I mean, it is tough to go against a quarterback that drops back and throws the ball 40 plus times, right? And Arizona is throwing the ball 40 to. Yeah, I saw not that long ago. Brissett had 59 pass attempts in a game. Like that is one of those that it's a good thing that he hadn't played much of the years leading up and still had some tread left on that arm, because holy moly, when you're throwing the ball that many times. But I would agree with that, right? Like it's one of those that if I need a little bit of firepower to go out and get this job done, right? Like I'm going to put Burrow in there. If I need something that's just going to get me kind of that ho hum, pretty safe floor, I like the Brissett side of that. Jason, it really depends really on what you've got, right? Do you need some firepower? Are you playing from behind, projected to lose, or are you, do you feel pretty good about the rest of your matchups across across your lineup there, and feeling safe there? As far as the other league with the same start one, same options as before with Bo Nix, Caleb, and Trevor in this one. I think I'd lean on the I think I might lean on the Bo Nix side.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure if I completely understand this, because if it's the same options, I have Burrow and Brissett over
I would.
Caleb, or Trevor. So if you're telling me it's the same options, I'm still leaning Burrow and then Brissett right behind it. If I'm misunderstanding somehow, then out of this mix, I think I would lean Bo Nix at home and take that. So forgive me if I'm not comprehending it the way that you intended me to.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I would agree with that thought. If I guess the way I was kind of reading it was do I start these guys or the Brissett Goff side of things? So anyway, Jason, I'll kind of defer there as well, saying that I'm not quite sure the question, but we'll rock and roll. I don't know. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Joe Burrow's your guy.
Okay.
All right. Jason's saying he's frustrated. He started Kyron over Terry McLaurin and Amirian Hampton. He said, did I make the wrong move? Because now he's hoping that Terry and Hampton don't pass 11 points, shaking his head. It remains to be seen whether it was the right or wrong move. I believe I would have started Hampton in the matchup against the Cowboys over Kyron Williams personally. But then again, you're playing in the playoffs and I'm not in the home league. So maybe that wouldn't have been the greatest advice. So there's nothing, you can't control the bench ultimately, right? This is what happened. And so now you just got to move forward, right? You got to hope that your guys that you have left to play show up for you and, can absorb the points that you missed out on with Kyron. I'd tell you in that first half, it looked like Kyron was the right play. And then the Rams just kind of moved away from the run game and started just airing it down the field to Puka. So, just game script, I guess, how they wanted the game to go. But the Rams came out on the ground and they were hammering the ball on the ground, and Kyron was looking really good. So
23 rush attempts.
Yeah, I mean, so again, you want them in the end zone, right?
Yeah.
That didn't happen, but touchdowns are hard to predict. But 23 attempts, it's not, the usage was there.
Right.
It started out really hot, and then Seattle kind of got keen to it, and then started really kind of stifling that in the second half. So what's done is done, buddy. And that sounds so flippant, and it's not meant to be dismissive, but you can't lose sleep over what goes on your bench. Like, the only thing that you can do is look forward to the rest of your games and make the best moves possible to put your chances of success as high as you can.
Right. And I mean, 23 rush attempts. He had 6 more targets in that game, right? Like, as a running, starting a running back, if kind of taking everything else out of it, right? Marion Hampton, yeah, we'll probably see some good points there, things like that. But the opportunity was there for Kyron, right? Like, didn't necessarily pan out great for the yardage side of things. Touchdowns didn't happen, but if you can tell me, kind of going blind into it, that you can have a running back that gets 29, it has an opportunity for 29 plays going through them versus another running back that's going to have 15, 18. I'm going to absolutely smash the yes on the 29 side of it, right? And so,
yeah, exactly. I was thinking those exact numbers in my head as you were going through that. Like 29 versus 17.
Right.
Yep.
Like,
so
the opportunities were there. They didn't pan out, but like, yeah, same thing too, right? There's a few of those things that, right, with Puka last night, right? You take a couple of those long, if some of those 50-yard passes don't connect, right? Like, it's a very different stat line for him, right? Like in this case here, Kyron was getting a whole lot of work, whole lot of opportunity. It just didn't pan out the way that you may have hoped. But no, I mean, an 11 points out of your running back spot, that's not terrible, right? Depends on what you got running back 2 going into the week, or your flex side of things. Like, there's still plenty of room to make the moves and make the changes. And right now you've got some feedback and some input into your roster to make decisions going into this weekend to with what you've got there, right? If that now puts you in a bit of a hole, right, you're looking for more upside with the rest of your roster plays. If that just kind of kept you ho-hum and par for the course, well, then you're just going ho-hum and par for the course, and you're moving on into with that knowledge. But you've got some of that initial feedback, and now you can make and adapt with that information.
Absolutely. All right, chase it again. So he needs to drop 2 so he can activate London and pick up a defense for week 17. Options are Brian Robinson, Tyler Algier, Michael Carter, and Kamani Vidal. He's scared to drop B-Rob and Algier in case Bijan or CMC get hurt, but he also has Hampton with Vidal. Thoughts on this one?
At this point, I don't know that I'm that worried about dropping either Algier or B-Rob, right? Like, if you've got to make the move, right? Like, you got to do that, right? Same thing with Vidal, right? Like, you're going into it. If you drop him at this point, what's the likelihood your opponent's going to pick it up to block you in this week? Probably not that good, right? Survive and advance into week 17. It's you and another person, right? Most people check out once their team's eliminated from that. So your opportunity to get them back, should something happen, is probably pretty good. This is also part of the reason you keep some of your fab going into the season, late into this deal, right? I don't know that I want to drop Michael Carter, because right now he's the only show in town for Arizona in the running back side of things, right? Like, there'll be volume there, and while it's not necessarily great, that's at least standalone flex play consideration, right? And I don't necessarily want to drop a starting running back that's probably going to get 60+% of the snaps in an offense, even though they tend to air it out and pass the ball more. because when they get inside the red zone, they have been turning the ball to their running back and allowing the running back to punch in touchdowns. So, Vidal, right? Same kind of thing. I don't really, I'd rather have the Hampton side of things. And I don't know that I'm necessarily looking to try and handcuff that in here. But yes, you need to activate London on that one. And then, the defense side of things as well, right? You don't want to be just taking zeros because you didn't start somebody. But you may have some different thoughts as far as the handcuffs and the key and who to drop.
I would drop Algier and Michael Carter.
Okay.
I think looking at injury history and usage this season, Brian Robinson is the one that I want on my team, right? McCaffrey has the history. He's seen a ton of touches this year. And again, the Niners are also fighting for something. So if McCaffrey goes down, Brian Robinson's going right in because they're a playoff team, right? They're in an arm's length of the division lead. So Brian Robinson's the guy that I do want to keep. Algier, I'm kind of what Derek was saying. It's you and one other guy. Drop Algier. If something happens to Bijan this week, you weren't going to start Algier this week anyway. So then you just got to beat most likely one other guy out for him. And then Michael Carter, he's just taking up a spot. I'm not starting him. DeMarcado's coming back. They're throwing it 40 times a game. Like Michael Carter's not in a situation where I would be starting him in 90% of cases unless you have a massive starting roster and you're just kind of forced into that thing. So points that you give up from Carter, you're gaining in London in your starting lineup. And the points that you're giving up from Algier, you're probably making up for, and more so with the starting defense for next week is how I would look at it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And so you got the two different viewpoints there and the thought processes around it, but certainly some info to move forward with there.
Absolutely. All right. Last one from Jason here at the moment. He's saying start three. Barkley, Javonte, Sutton, Scary Terry, Hampton, Michael Carter. So 3 out of the 6 is who he's looking to start.
Well, Barkley and Javonte are your almost got to starts there, right? And I think Hampton falls into that as well.
Yeah, Barkley and Hampton are kind of my two. If you really wanted to get cute, I mean, you could look at Cortland Sutton, maybe Terry McLaurin over Javonte, but it's a big reach. Like I think the more I'm looking at it, I think Derek's probably right. Barkley, Javonte, and Hampton, and you're starting 3 running backs.
Right. And it certainly would be the safest floor of all of those there, right? With a little bit of potential upside here and there, but I don't know that I would
You're
put
gonna get the
Sutton,
most bang for your buck out of this lineup,
right.
right?
I would put I would put Sutton over Terry on that, and Michael Carter would be the last guy on the list there. So honestly, I think I would just move Hampton in between Barkley and Javonte and then run the order that way. Or it would be Barkley, Hampton, Javonte, Sutton, Terry, Michael Carter in that order.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
So, all righty.
All right, from I Speak Fantasy. All right, same for both y'all. He's gonna win or go home this week for the semis. And he wants as much upside as possible. Who's asking? Joe Cool, Labum, maybe a young Tyler, half this Jets team. Who's Labum?
I don't know. I'm not cool enough to understand all of the nicknames here.
I'm not either. Like I young Tyler gets a Jets team. Nah, it doesn't matter. I'm going Joe Burrow. Like with where these guys are ranked, I'm taking Joe Burrow.
Unless that is LaBum. I don't know. I don't know who that would be either, though.
I don't know.
Sorry, I
I'm not
don't
taking Shook, right? I know one's Joe Burrow, the last one's Tyler
Tyler
Shook.
Shook, yeah.
I'm not sure who the middle one is. So excuse me for not understanding again, I guess. But I'm taking Burrow against Miami.
Right.
Let him and Jamar Chase cook. Like the running game has been better here the back half of the season, which helps balance it out. So they haven't been able to keep that extra safety deep. He's been creeping up a little bit more to help keep Chase Brown and Samaje Perine in check, which is allowing Joe Burrow to get deep. So Miami's defense is not nearly as good as what Baltimore's is when it's at peak performance. We saw the peak Baltimore defense last week, which is why Cincinnati got shut out. That's not happening again. I'm chasing points with the Bengals here this week because I think Joe's trying to make sure everybody hits their bonuses, and that means Jamar Chase has got to get cooking.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. Right. I don't want any part of Tyler Shook. And I'm very curious as to who Labum is or Labum. I'm not even sure the pronunciation there. So let us know on who that middle option is there. But I'm of the same opinion. I'm going with Joe Burrow with the information that we have here.
All right. Trone Force. My plan is to start Emmanuel Wilson at flex if Jacobs out. If Jacobs does play, he's going to pivot to Gainwell. His other options are McLaurin, Devonta Smith, Jalen Warren, or Debo. I think you're looking at it correctly. And I think that's exactly what I would be doing. All right. If Jacobs is out, Emmanuel Wilson is automatically in. If Jacobs goes, I think Gainwell's a really good pivot. Again, he's seeing the lion's share of the backfield for the Steelers right now. So I think that's a very not only safe, but, mid-tier ceiling. I'm not going to say super high ceiling, but mid-tier ceiling that you have. McLaurin going up against the Eagles is always tough. Devonta Smith could be interesting, right? Going up against Washington, like that has maybe the highest ceiling of your other options, but sometimes, especially with these Eagles receivers, like when we think they should explode, they get a very low target share for some unknown reason. And if Washington's truly packing it in, the Eagles jump out on them like they did Vegas last week. All the starters sat in the fourth quarter, so they're only getting 75% of game time, which does not help your fantasy production. Jalen Warren, pass. Gainwell's the right play over Warren, and Debo, absolutely not. I'd rather play Terry McLaurin over Debo.
Cosign. Yeah, I think you're spot on there.
Right on. Frosty saying, yo, if Jacobs is out, he needs 2 out of Wilkins, Judkins, and Woody.
So I'm assuming that's Emmanuel Wilson, Judkins, and Woody Marks.
Yes.
Going with Judkins, right? Buffalo's defense, you want to beat him, run the ball. So I think Judkins is a smash yes. If Jacob's out, Wilson's a smash yes as well for me. Woody Marks would be the odd man out for me in this one.
I agree. And Woody's been dinged up. Nick Chubb was at practice this week, not Woody Marks. So that is a little interesting. But yeah, if Jacobs is out, it's Wilson and Judkins. If Jacobs goes, then you Judkins and Woody. But I would tell you that even if Jacobs goes, you might see more Emmanuel Wilson than you do Woody Marks. It's kind of weird, but
right.
Definitely Judkins and for sure Wilson if Jacobs is out.
Okay. Yep. I like that as well.
So, and here he goes. Woody's going to be limited because it gets hurt in every game. Yeah, he does get dinged up a lot. He gets dinged up a lot. But hey, Puka Nacua gets dinged up a lot too, and he just went fantasy bonanza on Thursday night. So, I mean, getting a little nick in the game doesn't necessarily mean you're toast.
Right.
All right. Country Boy Jazz, 12-man PPR, looking at who he needs to start. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 flex. So for the quarterback position, he's looking at
Purdy
or McCarthy.
Purdy.
I agree with that. And then running backs, CMC, Carter, Aaron Jones, Walker, like Kenneth Walker, Chris Rodriguez. I don't know who other Walker it would be. And then receivers, Diggs, Olave, Jennings, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, and then tight end Waller, Ferguson, and then the Rams D, Falcons, Bucks, Cowboys. Okay. So I'm hoping
that you didn't play the Rams defense and you played.
you didn't play the Rams
Walker.
defense, and you did play Kenneth Walker, right? So that game happened Thursday. So I'm not sure how to necessarily guide you on that, but it is Brock Purdy. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's a smash start. If you didn't start Kenneth Walker, I would start Aaron Jones over Carter or Chris Rodriguez. So that would be my second wide receiver spot. And then as far as wide receivers go, I would go Olave and Jennings.
Okay.
And then I'd go Fergie at tight end. My flex play would be Godwin. And defensively, I don't like any of these matchups defensively.
No.
I think my guess is you probably started the Rams and you're probably
going
fighting
out
through that a little bit. Yeah.
At least with that, the bad defensive output, gets you 0
Bucks.
or
like Bucks if you didn't start the Rams.
Right. So it's Purdy, CMC. Hope you started Kenneth Walker. If not, I think it is the Aaron Jones side. I do like the Olave and Jennings call, and I do like the Ferguson call. Say he did start Walker, and you're staring down flex of Godwin or Jones. Do you have a strong preference for either one?
Still looking Godwin. Like his target share is still pretty good. And now that they have a full complement of weapons, defensive backs can't just key in on the one receiver that Tampa Bay's floating out there. Terry McLaurin might have the biggest upside outside of Olave and Jennings, just because he is the deep threat for Washington. And the Eagles have given up the deep ball a little bit more this year than in years past. Diggs, it should be Diggs, but his role has kind of changed with New England, and he's doing a lot of underneath stuff and more security blanket stuff, and he's just Drake May's spreading it out a little bit more than I want to have hyper focused in on Diggs. So that's why I'm leaning Godwin. I figure Godwin's good for at least 6 catches, and I can't say that about Diggs or Terry McLaurin.
Right. And if Godwin even on a lower or like if he doesn't get to the 6, probably still falls into the end zone. So I like that one. So all right, I like it.
Frogs are back. I like that handle. Dak or Purdy, and then Henderson, Harvey, Rico, Swift, Manungai, and then Jamo, Mbuka, Tet. 1 receiver, 1 running back, 1 flex. All right.
I'm going Purdy this week.
I am too. I think it's the matchup, right? Like there's a lot of cases where I'd be taking Dak this week, just because of how the season's gone. But the way Indianapolis has played lately, I think I am taking Purdy here just by a hair over Dak. So I like that one.
Right.
And
it's
running back wise,
it's Hendy for me. And then I'm putting Harvey at the flex, and I'm probably taking Tet as my wide receiver.
I would tell you, I agree with Henderson as the running back. If Swift doesn't go, I would put Manungai in the flex.
Okay.
Let's say Swift does go. Hendy. If you're looking for upside, it's Jamo that's in the flex to go along with Tet at your wide receiver. If you're just looking for some consistency, honestly, I'd go Rico. Okay. Harvey's been great getting into the end zone. I worry that this rib thing's a little bit more serious than the Broncos are leading on. And so with having these options and kind of being close to where I would be viewing all of them, I think I would shy away from Harvey this week. Like I really would like to see that. And the Jags defense has been playing pretty stout too. So
That's true.
I think I would lean a couple different directions. But I like JMO. I like JMO's odds this week. So I think putting him in the flex isn't a bad situation to be in.
Okay. All right.
So there you go. Hendy, JMO, and Tet McMillan.
Okay. All right. I like it.
All right. Tron Force, Nix, Love, or Dart? I'm going Bo Nix.
Yeah, out of those, I would agree. The only thing that would potentially swing that around is if you need a desperation or a huge upside type of play. I think Jackson Dart is your upside swing for the fences play on that one. But other than that, I think Bo Nix gives you the sort of the safest floor of these three this week.
So
And Dart's still boom bust potential on that last one. So
yep.
It is a swing for the fences or strikeout move for that. There's no middle ground on that one, I don't think.
Amen. The PS3 family, Schultz or Ferguson, estimate Harder, and then Dart or Brissett. And would you start Lad McConkey? So this one's all over the place. So take them in order, I guess. You want Schultz or you want Ferguson this week?
This week I like the Schultz side of things. Yeah, I like Schultz on this one.
I would co-sign with that. I think Schultz by a hair over Ferguson.
Right. On the running back side of estimating Carter, I think I'd rather have Carter.
I think I would too, because I think we understand what his role is a bit better than what estimates could or couldn't be. And anytime you're unsure, right, you want to go back to the base foundation. And the base foundation is the Atlanta Falcons have kind of packed up. They're not a very good football team. Carter, while he may not see, 20 touches, could see 15 really good touches, 13 really good touches, and you're hoping he falls into the end zone, catches a couple passes in the process.
Right.
Dart versus Brissett.
Brissett easy.
I agree. Jacoby, hands down. Take the guy who's going to sling it 40 times a game.
I think he gives you both ceiling and floor in that one.
Mm-hmm. And then here's the interesting one. Would you start Lad McConkey this week against the Dallas Cowboys?
Really depends on what my other options are, right? Like the matchup is prime, right? Dallas has been the get right game for many passing attacks throughout this year. But it really depends on what my other options are. If it's, am I starting Lad or am I having to roll out a Trey Tucker? I'd rather take Lad McConkey. Am I taking Lad or Jaden Higgins? We'll take Lad. Am I taking Lad or who else?
Ladder and Buka.
That's a good one there. I think I would lean Lad by the slimmest of margins, and it is the matchup that leads way on that one.
All right, here's another one. Lad or Xavier Worthy, now that we know the Rice is out?
I think I'd still take Lad.
I think so too. Like I've had him on my home league this year, and he's a frustrating.
Yeah.
Frustrating. Like it wasn't there, then it kind of looked like it was going to be there, and then it fell off the face of the earth. It's the matchup. And again, to Derek's point, part of it is who else you have, right? So we are doing this blind a little bit. I think Lad McConkey has fringe wide receiver 2 type results this week, right? Like I think he could end up being in wide receiver 3 territory, or he could end up being like wide receiver 15. Okay. Like there's a pretty big range, right? 30 to 15. is essentially where Ladd's going to finish on the week. So big distance between each other. So I think a lot of that does depend on who else you have, but the matchup's juicy. And if he's going to have a game how most people thought he would play this season, it would be against the Cowboys. But we really haven't seen that type of performance out of Ladd McConkey this year, right? I think we were all expecting 6 to 7 grabs a week for, 85 yards, kind of playing out of the slot, falling into the end zone, 7, 8 times, something like that. And we haven't really come anywhere close to it. It's been a really disappointing season for Ladd McConkey owners. So it is a gamble. I understand the frustration personally because I have dealt with this. But if you're sitting in this situation, going against the Cowboys, it's hard to sit anybody going against the Cowboys.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Kind of going back to like, here's one, Ladd McConkey or DJ Moore, right? Two guys that have drastically underperformed. But with DJ Moore, we know that Luther Burden and Roma Dunze are both out this week.
Yeah, I'm starting DJ.
Yeah. I would too, right? Wandale Robinson. I think I'd start Wandale over Ladd McConkey there as well, right? And I'm probably not quite as bullish on Ladd as you are, right? Like you're talking potentially getting up to wide receiver 15. I think the ceiling's probably wide receiver like 21, 22, but the floor is probably around wide receiver 32. So kind of in that same mix, just a little less bullish on what the potential top side could be.
Yep. Well, fair enough. Any other thoughts there?
Not that I can think of. So it would be it'd be interesting to kind of see. And actually I think PS3 may have maybe not. I can't tell if that's part of the same question.
He's at flex. Okay, so I think that's the Ladd question. He's at the flex. So estimate Carter, Wilson if Jacobs doesn't play. It's Wilson if Jacobs doesn't play over any of them.
Correct.
Bingo. I love it when they follow along and wait for this. Right. I love this. Yes. So if Josh Jacobs doesn't go, Emmanuel Wilson's the play over McConkey, correct, over Estime, over Carter, any of them. You're playing Wilson. To then kind of change that around, right? I would rather play Ladd over Carter or Estime, though. So it's Wilson that gets moved into your running back spot and Ladd stays
at the flex.
As your flex.
Right.
Is how I would do that. But again, I don't want any part of this New Orleans running game because we have no idea how it's going to look. And I don't want to put my semifinal performance on something that I'm guessing. And then I hate the Arizona running game. So I have actively avoided all these guys all season long. So,
funny enough, I've had every single Arizona running back that has touched the
yes, you
started
have.
a game for them at some point on our home league roster.
yes, you have. Right on. PS3 saying bet. Thanks, guys. Tyler, yes, I can see it. You're just further down the list. Joe Kinsley. All right. So he wasn't. I was not so confident in starting a Book at the flex, and then someone quietly dropped Jacoby Myers, and he picked him up. Is Surtain going to shadow Brian Thomas? Is starting Jacoby the right move? Yes, starting Jacoby Myers over Mbuka this week is the right move.
Correct.
Jacoby Myers he does damage against the Broncos. He did when he was with the Raiders. He understands this team. He understands how to get open. I don't know that Surtain is going to follow Brian Thomas. I think more or less they're probably just going to lock down a side of the field. And then the Jags are going to do whatever they want to do offensively to play mismatch and try and jumble it up a little bit. However, Jacoby Myers will give Riley Moss fits. I think Jacoby's probably a little bit quicker than Moss is as far as route running. Brian Thomas will probably draw more pass interference calls. which doesn't help your fantasy performance, right? It's just empty yardage. We hate DPIs. DPI kills wide receiver fantasy performances. So I think that's where Brian Thomas Jr. actually gets hurt, is because Surtain will cover him, Moss will DPI, and they'll live to fight another day. Jacoby can actually get around Moss. So I like the Jacoby Myers over Mbuka this week.
Yeah, I would as well, right? The Mbuka side was very, very fun to start the season, right? And incredibly electric. You had to love it. But I mean, since week six, Mbuka's had one top 24 wide receiver finish on a week. Most of them have been past wide receiver 36 and unusable for you in fantasy. So I
hope
can
it comes back, right? Now that they
right,
have their full arsenal,
right. You
right?
hope it
You're
comes back, but
finally healthy. Like, you hope it comes back, but like, recency bias is a thing. And right now, Jacoby Myers is really hot hand.
right,
And Ibuka is cool to, I can't even say lukewarm. He's
right.
just, he's not catching some passes that he should. Like, I think he's in his head a little bit. I think this long season's starting to take its toll on the rookie. It happens. It's nothing personal. We like the guy. He's going to be ranked up there pretty high when we start looking at 26 rankings. So it's
Mhm.
not that we're taking a giant dump on him, but this is the situation at hand, right? And we have to look at the cards that we have dealt in front of us. And right now, Jacoby Myers is an upgrade.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's smash Jacoby Myers on that one, and I would agree with you that Patrick Surtain oftentimes doesn't follow a wide receiver all around the field. Very rarely does that happen. They usually stick him on one side and just dare you to throw on that side of the field, and they'll deal with you getting to play on 2/3 of the football field. So, yes, Jacoby Myers, start him.
Right on. All right. Jay Peach, Dak or Baker? Let's start with that one. I'm playing Dak over Baker.
Yeah, I would agree.
Baker's just looked off. I think he's a little dinged up. Like, he's just looked off. Give me Dak. They need 30 points to win. Tampa Bay could play Carolina tight, and that game could be 20-17. And I don't know that anybody would be surprised. But Bryce Young's going to have to put up a ton of points. So I don't know that I necessarily believe in that. So I would play Dak over Baker. And then the second part is Coker, Pollard, Estime, or AD Mitchell for a flex play. This is an interesting bag. I am going to immediately eliminate Estime.
Yes.
For all the reasons I've said throughout the show. So you playing AD Mitchell's volume, right? Tony Pollard's hot hand, or Coker's consistency with Bryce Young, because he does have a rapport with Bryce Young, and he's played solid, right? He's been a solid, wide receiver 3 to flex type play option here the last couple of weeks. So do you have any strong opinions here on which way Pete should go?
Yeah, I mean, this one's a tougher deal, and it is full point PPR here. So that, I think, does kind of bunch these guys up even a little bit more so, right? If it was half point or standard scoring, I think Pollard probably becomes your guy in this one. But with it being spaced out like that, I do like the AD Mitchell side. I think Jalen Coker is your safe floor on this one. And I think Pollard's a little bit more of a floor play, and I think Mitchell provides you a little bit of upside on this one. But I'm of the same opinion. No thanks on the estimate side of things. So
yeah, I think I'm going Coker here.
Okay,
is where I would lean. Mitchell would be kind of right behind it because of the full point PPR, and then Tony Pollard is how I would look at that.
Fair enough. Yeah, the Mitchell side of things kind of gets ratcheted up there just a little bit for me when we've seen him just get peppered with targets the last few weeks. So, and I like the Coker side of it. It just worries me with Coker. You may very well end up with 4 targets all game long, and it really just kind of comes down to if he falls into the end zone or not.
Yes.
So, and Pollard's had that hot hand. So, I think I still lean the 80 Mitchell side of things by the slimmest of hairs with it being full point PPR and those and the volume targets that he's been getting. So, but it's a good question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jay Peach, if it makes you feel any better, I'm probably starting Coker and Mitchell in my home league this week.
Gots to.
Yeah, those injuries have been rough.
Yeah, you've had a rough one. Tyler saying, "Hey, I'm up 40. Congratulations, you must have had Puka." And then he's asking Loveland or Schultz for the tight end spots. I would go Loveland.
Yeah, it's by the slimmest of margins, but I'd go Loveland as well.
Can't find us on YouTube. I promise we're there.
As I say, the comment came in on YouTube.
Yeah, so I promise we're there. Let's see here. All right, back to Joe. Buka is starting a sophomore slump early. He's way ahead of the curve. I mean, maybe, but hell, if he's going to get it out of the way, that means great things for 26.
Correct.
Again, it's a different world, right? When you're treated as the number 2 or number 3 option and how a defense perceives you compared to how they treat you as the number 1 option, it is a completely different world. That is why it's been so important that Mike Evans comes back, Godwin's back and fully kind of in the fold here right now. And Buka's, he will be all right. And he might even snap out of it, right? I mean, you might see him, take another week and then really try and get things going. Baker loves Mike Evans, right? And I think he really wants to try and do his guy right. So Mbuka might have a slow roll here for the next couple of weeks, but the good thing about having 3 great weapons at wide receiver is, when Baker's really in his stride, he doesn't really force the ball all that much. He's pretty risk adverse. I know a lot of people don't think of him like that, but if you look at how Baker plays, like he wants to feed his guy for sure, but he typically doesn't put the ball in a bad position. Especially when all of his guys are healthy and he knows he has other options and doesn't just have to kind of cram it down one avenue.
Right. No, absolutely. So, and to kind of go back to your point of it's a very different world when you're the number 1 versus the number 2. Just ask a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, right? Like, was the hot hand in Pittsburgh with playing opposite of Antonio Brown, and then when you got to be the guy, things certainly change on that one, right? And I do think that we've seen a little bit of that with Mbuka. You've got a little bit of that rookie learning curve that comes in, and some of that gets kind of stunted. Gets changed quite a bit as well when number 1, the number 2 guy go out. And missing a lot of time there, and you've got to step up and be the number 1. Maybe before you're even quite fully ready for that at this level, right? Trying to learn how to be a pro, how to prep, how to do all the things and play play the game at a much faster speed and level than what you played in college. So I do think that there is some of that's potentially playing into that. So the fact that that all the compliments are back and Jalen McMillan is also back too, I think that also spells good things for the Bucks here, and I think we'll see Mbuka maybe break out of it a little bit and see a little bit of return to form and some better days ahead.
Absolutely. Tyler, following up here, do you like Coker, Reed, or Devonta Smith this week?
Ooh, Reed is out. Straight up, I'll say that right off the bat. Reed is out for me. I'd probably lean the Devonta Smith side of things. again, Coker is got to fall in the end zone, or you're probably not very happy about the performance that he's going to give you for fantasy. I don't necessarily love the Devonta Smith side of things, but I like it better than the other options that you've laid out there.
Yeah, I like the Devonta Smith side. I think he has a relatively safe floor, or at least a very similar floor to what Jalen Coker's could be. Devonta Smith's ceiling's way higher, though. And that's just how the Eagles are kind of performing and everything else. But we could see Coker and Devonta Smith both have 4 or 5 catches, and Devonta, we've seen him have 120 yards and 2 touchdowns on that before. Right? He's that type of player. So, and again, going up against Washington team that's pretty well packed it in should mean good things. You just hope they play all game long.
I would agree.
Same street, different side though. Devonta Smith or Chris Godwin?
I'd lean the Chris Godwin side, but I think he's probably gives you a safer floor, and Devonta Smith gives you the upside.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Devonta Smith again, and this is target tree is how I'm looking at this, right? Like you said, McMillan's back and Puka's there. Mike Evans is there. You have Godwin. So there's, Bucky Irving's catching some balls. Rashad White still catches a pass or two. Like there's just more mouths to feed in Tampa Bay than there is in Philly. In Philly, it is A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Goddard, and Barkley, right? Like, so it's one less mouth to feed. Goddard's kind of fallen back down to earth here a little bit. It feels like, so really it's narrowed even more. So that's how I'm looking at it. Game script is what worries me about Devonta Smith. Eagles jump out on top of the Commanders. You could just see a lot of Saquon Barkley. You could be seeing some Tank Bigsby, anything kind of like that if they jump up on it and you don't need Barkley there. So game script makes me worried about Devonta Smith, but definitely a much narrower target tree as far as just strict usage if the game script can remain neutral.
Yeah, I would agree. I can see that, and I would agree with that as well.
Right. All right. We'll give everybody another couple minutes here if you got any last minute questions before Derek and I bid everybody adieu for the evening. But now the question you typically ask me, right? Looking at the Saturday games, right? The Saturday games and the Sunday slate, all this, is there a game or two that really sticks out that is kind of must-see TV for you?
Must-see TV. I think the Broncos and the Jags are the gotta watch this week. Right? Like there's a lot of kind of playoff implications to that. You got two teams that are super hot coming down the stretch. I think that is the gotta watch game. This one, right? The Bucks and the Panthers. That's very intriguing with some playoff implications there. The Packers and the Bears squaring off again here, and this is another one of those that a lot of playoff implications riding on that game as well. So, I mean, those are probably the kind of the three that I'm really kind of keeping an eye out and going to be looking into to see how this thing plays out there. I do think that we'll also see some interesting performances here, right? Like we got the super strong Thursday night deal for fantasy purposes for a lot of folks out there, right? Like, anybody started Puka is very happy. Anybody started Matthew Stafford's very happy. In the chat, may have not been Jason may not have been super happy with the Kyron start, but you still got you to double digit points, and JSN you put up a solid performance there as well. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these other matchups kind of come out and play through. And if you're going up against Matthew Stafford or Puka Nacua, or worst case scenario, you went up against the stack of those two, there are enough points out there and enough big other performances to bring that thing home. So I think that Atlanta and Arizona can certainly potentially provide some of the fireworks in that, right? Like Trey McBride, I think, could have a huge game. Bijan, Drake London being back, both of those guys could have big games out there. Brissett is an interesting deal with the way he's been putting up fantasy points. So, yeah, that's probably a matchup I'm going to be keeping a close eye on from a fantasy perspective.
Right
So,
on. I think the one that I like that you didn't mention would be Detroit and Pittsburgh. Only
yep.
because at least for now, Detroit is still in the hunt. Pittsburgh is trying to, stave off Baltimore for the AFC North. So both teams still have a bit to play for here. Detroit being at home, I think, should be a big advantage for them, being able to be inside and on the turf and in the friendly confines of Ford Field. Um, but yeah, that would kind of be the other one I'm looking at, and then maybe one other one be Baltimore and New England,
Mm-hmm.
right? We saw New England kind of stub their toe a little bit against Buffalo last week, right? They took the early lead and then kind of gave it up. Baltimore, again, they're trying to catch the Steelers for the division lead. Big time defensive performance from the Ravens last week. Are they able to carry that over and give Drake May maybe an early taste of what playoff football is going to look like? So I think that one is at least intriguing to me. But the only other one potentially points wise, Chargers and Cowboys should be a pretty good offensive affair. We'll see how that looks, right? I think the Chargers will play down to the Cowboys level here a little bit. Historically, they do that. They had a big win against the Chiefs last week. But sometimes with the Chargers, you don't necessarily get those back-to-back complete games. So I think Dallas is going to be able to hang around, and we could see that one be a pretty high-scoring affair for us also. But really all the way around, kind of like what you mentioned. I mean, between the two of us, we listed 6 games. We already had one big one. So there's tons of opportunity for fantasy success. Miami and Cincinnati, Achan going up against the Bengals rush defense, which is bottom 3 in the league. So Achan's right there. And then on the flip side, having Burrow and Jamar Chase go up against a Miami team that just gave it up to DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers. There's potential for quite a few points there too. So we should see a higher scoring week, I would think. But yeah, time will tell. But another reminder, there are games on Saturday. Get your rosters set.
Correct.
Wake up in the morning, fix your rosters, make sure you have your Saturday players in those positional slots. That way you can throw extras into that flex spot and pivot just a little bit if you need to. But yeah, no time to get caught sleeping now here in the semifinals. So make sure you get it done. And really best of luck to everybody playing in the semis. So hopefully it works out for everybody. And either you're making a comeback against Puka Nakua in his Thursday night performance, or you had Puka or Matt Stafford and you were just going to kind of keep your opponent at arm's length. And we'll catch everybody next week for championship week on Tuesday night.
Right, absolutely. You kind of one other kind of thought there that I had when I was scrolling through there is I don't know that any team actually truly wants the 1 seed in the NFC side of things. Right? How many times over the last few weeks we've seen that where the team leading it in that number 1 spot loses a game and they fall to 5 or they fall to 7 or they fall to like some drastic reshuffling that's taken place over the last few weeks in the NFC side of it. So it'll be interesting to see what Seattle does here coming down the stretch and if they can hold on to that, or is there somebody else that's going to sneak up here this week, next week, week after to try and steal that away. So just another thought there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Well, nothing else came in, Derek. So I think that's it for us.
All righty. Do you have any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
I do not. I kind of went through my final thought.
All right. I like it.
I'm good.
Well, that is going to do it for us then tonight. As Kevin mentioned already, we'll be back on Tuesday, 11 p.m. Eastern, doing that Tuesday show. We have one more Friday Night Lights Friday Night Fantasy Football Lights with the Bet Set Snap, and that'll be next week in Week 17. Week 18, if you all need help, things like that, hit us up, let us know on the socials, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can. But next Friday is going to be the last Friday Night Lights for the for this year, and but we'll keep doing the Tuesday shows year round, right? We run the Tuesday shows all year, and certainly worth joining into. If you haven't done so already, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and get that little bell notification for when we go live. So, but that's going to do it for us tonight. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloos.